They say there are things in the forest, things that should never be disturbed, the kind of things that make your heart pound, even when you're far away, safe at home by a warm fire. But what if you're not safe? What if something is out there, watching, waiting? Imagine the darkest winter you can. The kind of winter where the snow falls endlessly and the trees bend under the weight of ice. There's no sound, just the wind howling through the branches, and beneath it, something you can't quite hear. It's a feeling, really, a sense that you're not alone. That's how the story begins. In the cold, in the isolation, and in the silence, there's something lurking, something ancient, something evil. This is where the Wendigo comes into play. The Wendigo is no ordinary creature. It's a legend passed down by the Algonquin tribes of North America, spoken of only in whispers around campfires. It's a spirit of the wilderness, born from the cold and hunger of endless winters. But it's more than just a ghost story. You see, the Wendigo isn't just a beast. It was once human, just like you or me. Imagine this: a hunter lost in the deep woods, surrounded by snowdrifts taller than him, with no food for days. Desperation creeps in. His body is weak, his mind even weaker. He stumbles through the forest, trying to find his way home. But the biting wind and freezing temperatures push him to the edge of madness. He begins to hear whispers. At first, they're soft, like the rustling of leaves, but they grow louder, more persistent. Eat, they say. Survive. And that's when it happens. In his desperation, he breaks the one taboo that must never be broken. He eats the flesh of another human. He gives in to the hunger. And in that moment, the Wendigo is born. The transformation is horrifying. His once human form grows gaunt, twisted, with long, bony limbs and a skeletal face. His eyes burn with an unnatural hunger, glowing like embers in the dark. His skin stretches tight over his bones, gray and cracked from the cold. His mouth, now filled with sharp, jagged teeth, is always open, always starving. But no matter how much he devours, he can never be full. The more he eats, the hungrier he becomes. They say you can hear the Wendigo before you see it. Its voice echoes through the trees, calling your name, luring you deeper into the forest. Some say it sounds like the wind. Others say it mimics the voices of loved ones, trying to draw you closer. But by the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. The Wendigo is fast, faster than anything in those woods. It moves like a shadow, silent and deadly. One moment, the forest is still. The next, you're gone. There are stories of entire hunting parties disappearing, of villages left in ruin, with nothing remaining but footprints in the snow. Footprints too large, too deep to belong to any man. One of the most famous stories is that of Swift Runner, a Cree man who lived with his family near the woods in the 1800s. The winter was especially brutal that year. Supplies ran low, and the cold crept into their bones. It wasn't long before Swift Runner returned to town, alone. The others were nowhere to be found. When the authorities questioned him, he claimed they had starved, that the harsh winter had taken them. But when they pressed further, his story crumbled. The truth was much darker. Swift Runner had killed and eaten his own family, consumed by a hunger he couldn't control. He claimed the Wendigo had possessed him, that it had driven him mad with its insatiable thirst for flesh. Whether it was the spirit of the Wendigo or something inside him that snapped, we'll never know. But the story spread like wildfire. Swift Runner was hanged for his crimes, but the Wendigo? It never left those woods. People still report sightings. They speak of a tall, gaunt figure stalking the forest, its eyes glowing in the night. They say it stands just at the edge of the tree line, watching, waiting for its next victim. It doesn't matter how far you run. Once the Wendigo has your scent, you're doomed. And it's not just the wilderness where the Wendigo haunts. They say it can come for anyone who is consumed by greed, by selfishness, by an insatiable hunger for more. The Wendigo is a warning, a reminder of what happens when we lose control of our darkest desires.